issues. So,
Yeah, could you give us a few examples of other issues that people can bring in the workshop apart from their family problems or their...
Well, I'm one of these guys that will work with any issue that someone brings me, with the exception of if someone comes and says, "Look, I want to fix my spouse. He or she is broken." I won't do it. If somebody wants to heal a parent or somebody in their own family that is older than themselves, I won't do that. And it's simply part of the structure of the models that I use with constellations. But any conceivable issue that someone comes to, one time I'm thinking of a guy came to me and he said, I have this friend and suddenly, we've been friends for 15 years and suddenly there's a crisis and he's really upset with me. And we'll take a look at it, and it turns out that this guy was, these guys knew each other in some other lifetime. And we simply go to whatever that energetic space is and make the correction, and then the change is made. The other area that I'm not keen on working with, or I will not work with, if someone comes to me and says, "Look, there's a lot of trouble in some part of the world, and I would like to set a constellation to provide healing for them and to settle the political difficulties or to stop the war." And I say, "Well, my friend, that's a psychological issue. That's a concern you have at a psychological level, and yet you personally do not have any energetic connection with any person there."
Yeah, so you have to have your own connection to this issue. For example, if you would have to go there, or if you have lived there, or if you know people in that area, then you could work with it probably. Because then you're connected.
Yeah, and it may simply not be that you know someone there, but knowing it is possible if someone simply knows someone there that they have a close relationship with.
Yeah.
But then we're actually working with my client herself, who's coming requesting it, and her energetic relationship with her friend who's in that country that may be in peril.
Yeah.
We're not actually working with the other, we're working with this one. And
yeah.
Now, I know there are people who set constellations, in fact, hold quite big gatherings to set constellations for problem areas on the planet. And that, in general, is a great psychological exercise. I don't believe it has any energetic impact on any of the realities, unless by chance there happens to be some person in that audience who is personally connected with someone in that circumstance. So the answer is, I'll work with any issue that where there's an actual energetic personal connection, or familial connection, or ancestral connection, or business connection.
And then in the case that what you have once called, you have standing, you are allowed to work with that, because you also said you don't work with people who ask a question for their parents, or people who are really older or higher in hierarchy. Yeah,
that's good. I had forgotten. That is the term that fits, is that we have to have standing or the authority or place to make a change in someone else's life. And but that change, that say you have an issue with your child and you want some assistance, I'll work with your child because you have the authority, work with you regarding your child because you have the authority to affect and help your children. But it's only up to the point of their free will. And that is very, that shows up very clearly when we're working in these fields of grace. And I'm working with some issue that your son or daughter may have. Oftentimes we'll bump up to a place where we get to do this and this and this, and because the field informs what changes. But oftentimes there'll be something, a message in the field that, oh, we stop here because we're bumping up against that person's free will. And then we simply stop.
Yeah. Well, that's quite clear. And it also is a very integral way to work, I feel.
You know, the integral or integrity, it means wholeness. And that the thing about constellations, it's looking at us as human beings in our wholeness, and that we have to work with our wholeness in models that are whole and in ways that are whole, rather than based on kind of our biases or our fears psychologically. That we have to be clean, whole witnesses, and deploy methods that themselves are clean and whole, and honoring and respectful of the person and the people and the larger systems that all of us are a part of.
Thank you. It's a lot that you just sort of summarized, a lot I have seen in action in the fields when you work and I'm there. But it's great to hear you talk about it in just some minutes, to give really the essence of what your work is about. And
well,
yeah.
Thank you. And sometimes I'm afraid that I talk a little quickly about this. I'm a bit passionate about this work. And so if I'm talking too quickly, remind me to slow down.
Okay, when I thought it was still okay.
Oh, you let me know.
Yeah, and we will work it out. It will probably be
okay.
okay.